In this video, we will see how you can admit the students into Fedena. Before you admit students, please ensure that you have done the general settings, you have created the courses and the batches, and added subjects into the batches. So this is the next step after doing all these basic settings. To admit the students, there are some pre-settings that must be done. For example, based on how your admission form looks like, you can add admission additional details. Fedena gives you an admission form which you can check by going to Academics, Students, Student Admission. This form asks for all the details about the student. For example, the first name, the date of birth, gender, nationality, and so on. If you find that there are few details that are extra or additional that you want to take from the student besides the ones that are already asked in this form, you must do those settings by going to Administration, Settings, and Add Admission Additional Details. This is where you can enter the details or the fields that you want to take from each student. So these fields will become common for all the student admissions that you do in Fedena. For example, you can take the information like height of the student. You can make the status as active. It means it should be shown in the form. If it is a mandatory field, and how can it be entered as a text box or a bigger area, as a drop-down or a set of checkboxes. Based on the type of the input, this can be selected. Once you create it, it will appear here as active field. You can see I've already created these many active fields. For you, this will be empty and you can create it based on your admission form. So these are the additional details that I'm taking from the student. I'll show another example of creation of additional detail. For example, we can ask the student about his allergies. Again, it can be a text area. It may be a long data. I can make it optional or mandatory for all the students. So all these information in the same way can be created. Once you create it here, this all information that you see which you created as additional and active fields will appear in the admission form. One more setting that should be done before you start entering the student into Fedena is his category. So you will see this option of Manage Student Category. Now you can categorize students based on the reports that you need frequently. You can also categorize students if you give them concessions on discounts on the fees from the other students. For example, there may be students who are scholarship students and do not have the same fee structure as non-scholarship students. In that case, you can create a category called scholarships and other one as non-scholarships. You can see that all the categories that I create here appear here. You can create the categories like this. I have already created some 3 categories and 2 new categories. Please note that one student can belong to only one category at a time. So let's see where this category will be affected when we are admitting the student. Now let's go to the admission form by going to Academics, Student, Student Admission. Here you will see, along with the other personal details, you have an option of category where all the 5 categories that you've created appear. So this is an admission form for a single student. You can enter the details. For example, I can enter the information about the student. The admission number, if you're entering for the first time in Fedena, will be blank. You can choose an admission number. For example, for my school, it can be, let's say the student is in grade 1. So I can create an admission number like this. Admission number is a number that is given unique to a student in the institute. A student is identified by this admission number and can be searched later on in Fedena. You can put the admission date, the first name of the student, the date of birth can be selected from here, the gender, and other information. Also the category. So based on if I want to put the student in which category, I can select that. I can put the other information as well, so I can refer to it at a later stage. Since I'm admitting a student in Fedena, it is mandatory to put him in the courses or the classes that you've already set up. So you can select a course. Let's say I want to put this student in the new course that I've just created, which is grade 1. I can put him into a batch inside this course. Roll number is a unique number that is given to the student particular to a batch. The difference between admission number and roll number is admission number is unique to a student within the institute, whereas roll number is unique to a student within a batch only. If you use that system of roll number, you can give it here, otherwise you can skip this. It is an optional field to fill. You can choose to upload the user's photo as well and save this information for the student. The next step is to select the sibling. If there's another student that you have entered in Fedena, you can select that information of the student and search that student by the admission number or the name. For example, I have this student which I have put in Fedena, and I can relate it to the new student that I'm entering by clicking on the name of the student. So the sibling selected will become Jack. The use of doing this is that the parent information of Jack, which I've already entered in Fedena, will be copied to Jones. Let's say this student does not have a sibling. In that case, I will skip this step and enter the parent information. Here I can enter all the information so that this parent will also be able to log in, and you can refer to the details at any later stage. You can enter more than one guardian information here, but in Fedena, at a time, only one person can log in into Fedena. That means the credentials of the parents will be generated only once. They may be used by both the parents or only by a single parent. Here you can enter the previous educational details about the student that you're admitting, which can be his previous institute name, his class in which he has passed from that school, the year in which he has passed, and the marks that he obtained. And you can save it. You can also add individual subject information about this class. The next step is the additional details. So in the pre-settings, we have created some fields which are active. And now we can enter the information against them. I'm filling in the mandatory information. All the information can be entered, so it can be referred to at any later stage. So you can see now the profile of this student is created. This student can log in using his admission number, which is Fedena-G1-001, and the password will be the same followed by 123. So all the students and the employees that you admit in Fedena can use the username as the admission number or the employee number and the password as the same followed by 123. Now if I go to the details about that batch in which I have admitted the student, I can use this option of data and reports to check that. Here you will see it shows me all the classes, batches, students and employees that I have in this system. I'll go to the batch to check the batch details. I will select my batch that I've created, which is GR1A 2016. So I have this batch. When I click on it, I will see that this student that I've just admitted will appear here. All the students will appear in this list once you admit them in this batch. So this is how you can admit the students one by one in Fedena. using this admission form. And the student can log in using the admission number. So let's see that. I have logged in using this username as a student, and the password will be admission number followed by 123. If you have enabled password change at first time login, the user will be prompted to change the password. So this is how the students can be admitted one by one in Fedena and can log in after their admission is done. There is another way in which you can admit the students. That is using the custom import way, which you can find under Data and Reports Custom Import. Using this way, you can enter students in bulk in Fedena. You can have a look at the other video, which is for custom imports and how you can admit the students using this. There's another way in which you can admit the students, that is by applicant registration. This is an online registration form that the students or the parents can fill, and on approval, the student will become a part of Fedena. Again, for more details about this, please have a look at the video by the name Applicant Registration